Sometimes, the hardest part of healing isn't moving forward. It's accepting that someone meant to hurt you. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a misunderstanding, it was deliberate, and when that realization sinks in, it shakes you. Because your mind goes to all the things you shared, the trust you offered, the vulnerability you opened up. You think, how could someone who claimed to care about me hurt me like that, on purpose? But here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Some people hurt you simply because they can. Because your light made them feel small. Because your love reminded them of everything they lacked. Because your honesty exposed their lies, and because your presence threatened their control. So instead of growing, instead of healing themselves, they chose to dim you. That wasn't your failure. That was theirs, and yet what do? We blame ourselves. We replay conversations. We wonder if we were too much, too kind, too open. We question whether we should have seen it coming, if we were just naive. That self-blame becomes a prison, chaining us to the pain. But here's what you need to know, deeply and truly. It is not your fault when someone chooses cruelty over compassion. You didn't deserve it. You didn't invite it. You were simply yourself. And that was too powerful for someone who hasn't faced their own darkness. When people hurt you on purpose, they're projecting their own wounds, their betrayal, their insults, their manipulation. None of that was a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their own brokenness. They hurt you because hurting you gave them a false sense of control. They saw your empathy as weakness, not realizing it was your greatest strength. But once you recognize that their actions were calculated, once you stop romanticizing their intentions, you take back your power. You start seeing things as they are, not as you hoped they would be. And that clarity is the beginning of your freedom. It's what separates healing from denial. You have to stop personalizing their poison. Not everyone is capable of loving the way you do. Not everyone wants to build. Some only come to break. And it's not your job to fix those who bleed on others because they refuse to heal themselves. Now you have a choice. You can keep holding onto the pain, replaying the hurt like a broken record, or you can rise. You can say, yes, they tried to break me, but I refuse to stay broken, because the most powerful revenge is not anger or confrontation. It's elevation. It's rising so high that their actions no longer reach you. It's healing so thoroughly that their name doesn't even sting anymore. It's reclaiming your story and rewriting the ending. You didn't deserve the way they treated you, but you do deserve to become the version of yourself that they were afraid of. And that journey begins the moment you stop blaming yourself for their decision to hurt you. They were wrong, not you. When someone hurts you on purpose, your first instinct might be to react. You want to shout, to prove a point, to expose them, to make them feel the weight of what they've done. You think maybe, just maybe, if they could see the damage they caused, they'd finally understand, or even feel guilty. But the truth is, people who hurt you deliberately often don't care how you feel. In fact, some of them feed off your reaction. Your anger becomes their validation, your emotional outburst becomes their control, and in trying to show them your pain, you end up handing them even more power. That's why the most powerful response is often no response at all. Not silence rooted in weakness, but silence rooted in strength. The kind of silence that says, you don't deserve access to my energy anymore. You see, there's a unique kind of power in not reacting. When you don't explain, don't chase, don't defend, you're telling them something much louder than words ever could. I don't need your validation to heal. And that silence, it's not passive. It's a statement. It's a wall built from self-respect. It's you refusing to play the game they set up to break you. Because when you react emotionally, you stay tied to the situation. But when you respond with calm distance, you reclaim your peace. And that peace is what they never expected you to hold on to. The thing is, some people want you stuck. They want you arguing, spiraling, needing answers, begging for closure. Because the moment you're still entangled, they feel important. But the moment you go quiet and start rebuilding, when they see you smiling, moving forward, living well, that's when the regret starts to creep in. That's when they wonder if maybe they underestimated you. Because nothing haunts a person who tried to break you more than seeing you completely unfazed, thriving without them, healing without their apology. This doesn't mean you don't feel pain, of course you do, but you learn to channel it. Instead of throwing words into a black hole, you pour that pain into progress, into rebuilding your mind, your body, your focus, your environment. You rise, not because you need to prove anything to them, but because you owe it to yourself to reclaim everything they tried to steal. Your joy, your confidence, your spark. Let your silence be the space where transformation begins. Let your quiet be filled with elevation. Focus on what you can control, your growth, your goals, your healing, because while they're expecting chaos from you, you're delivering calm. While they're waiting for drama, you're delivering distance, and that's what leaves them speechless. You don't need revenge, you need evolution, and every step you take in peace is a reminder that they couldn't destroy you. Not really. They may have shaken you, they may have hurt you deeply, but they didn't win, because here you are, not just surviving, but rising. So stop explaining, stop arguing, stop justifying yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Say less, build more. Let your glow do the talking. Let your silence teach them everything they thought you'd never learn. Pain has a strange way of becoming a mirror. It shows you parts of yourself you never noticed before. Your strength, your endurance, your fire. But only if you let it. Because when someone hurts you on purpose, when they deliberately wound you, it's tempting to stay in the pain, to sit with it like it's your identity. It's tempting to replay the betrayal, to build your world around the heartbreak. But that's not where your story ends. That's just where it begins to transform. You weren't broken, you were cracked open, and what you do with that opening is what defines the next chapter of your life. This is where you get to choose. Do you let the pain define you, or do you let it refine you? See, here's the part they didn't expect. They thought the hurt would break you, but it awakened you instead. They thought you'd stay stuck, but now you're leveling up, and not for them, but in spite of them, not to get revenge, but to reclaim everything they tried to take away from you. This is the moment you start turning pain into power. Start with the small things. Maybe it's getting out of bed and finally moving your body again. Maybe it's drinking water, showing up to that job you hate while you plan your next move. Maybe it's signing up for that course, dusting off that dream, writing that book, applying for that passport, changing your number, moving cities, creating a life that's so full, their absence becomes irrelevant. Every time you choose growth over grief, you take your power back. They thought they were writing the end of your story, but all they did was light the match. Now it's time for you to build the fire, and you do that by rising quietly, powerfully, day by day. Use what hurt you as fuel. Let the cruelty become the reason you take your health seriously. Let their betrayal push you to find real connections, real friends, real love. Let their silence push you closer to your own voice, because the most stunning glow-up doesn't start with makeup, clothes, or filters. It starts with clarity. It starts the day you say, enough, I deserve better, and I'm going to create it. Success isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just peace. It's waking up without anxiety. It's walking into a room and knowing who you are. It's not needing to be seen to feel seen. It's having goals that scare you in the best way. It's walking away from everything that drains you without looking back. And eventually, they'll notice, not because you flaunted it, but because they'll feel the distance between who you were and who you've become. That's the kind of regret they never show you. It's quiet. It hits them late, in the middle of the night, when they see you living the life they never thought you'd have. When they realize the version of you they tried to destroy is now out of their reach, they don't get to win. Not because you hurt them back, but because you rose so far beyond their level, they can't even touch your energy anymore. And that's the kind of power no apology could ever undo. Healing after someone hurts you on purpose isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's not about wiping the slate clean and welcoming them back with open arms. Healing is about understanding what happened so deeply that you never allow it to happen again. It's not revenge, it's wisdom, and it's about protecting your energy with the kind of boundaries that are built from self-respect, not bitterness. You can forgive someone and still never speak to them again. You can let go of the pain and still walk away without explanation. Forgiveness is for your peace, not their comfort. It doesn't mean you're okay with what they did. It doesn't mean you forget the lies, the betrayal, or the manipulation. It simply means you refuse to carry the weight of it anymore. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it so your future isn't shaped by their past behavior. But don't confuse healing with amnesia. Just because you're choosing peace doesn't mean you erase what happened. In fact, it's the opposite. You remember it clearly, not to dwell on it, but to learn from it. You look back, not to relive the pain, but to remind yourself why your standards are higher now. Why your circle is smaller, why your time is more sacred. That memory becomes a guidepost, not a prison. The hardest part is learning how to protect your energy without shutting yourself off from the world. It's easy to say, "I'll never trust again," or "I'm done with people," but that's not healing, that's hiding. And you deserve more than a life spent in emotional isolation. The real challenge, the real growth, is learning how to open your heart with discernment. To give, but not to the undeserving. To love, but not at your own expense. You start by listening to your intuition, that voice you used to silence. You start by honoring the discomfort instead of ignoring it. If someone's energy feels off, pay attention. If someone's words don't match their actions, believe the actions. Stop making excuses for red flags just because you want the connection to be real. You already know what it feels like to be drained, to be manipulated, to be dismissed. Don't let it happen again just to keep the peace with someone who never valued your presence. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away from half-hearted love, from friends who only show up when they need something, from people who once had access to you but didn't know how to treat you. You're allowed to outgrow connections that were rooted in your unhealed self. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And let's be honest, when you finally start protecting your energy, you will lose people. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will call you difficult, dramatic, even selfish. Let them. It's not your job to stay small just to make others comfortable. It's not your responsibility to explain your healing to those who never respected your hurt in the first place. The ones who are meant for you will respect your boundaries. They won't see your self-respect as a threat. They'll see it as a sign that you've done the work, that you know your worth, and those are the people who deserve access to your world, not the ones who broke it. Because healing isn't about becoming soft again. It's about becoming strong enough to never be shattered the same way twice. There's something incredibly powerful about confidence, not the loud, flashy kind that demands attention, but the quiet, steady kind that doesn't flinch when things fall apart. After someone hurts you on purpose, it's easy to shrink. It's easy to question everything about yourself. You wonder if maybe you were too much, too trusting, too soft, too available. That kind of betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It tries to unravel your identity, and for a while it might succeed. You second guess your choices, you doubt your instincts, you dim your light just to avoid standing out, thinking maybe if you were smaller, they wouldn't have targeted you. But that's exactly what they want. Because someone who hurts you on purpose is often threatened by your confidence. Your strength, your softness, your ability to shine without trying, it makes them uncomfortable, so they poke holes in your self-esteem, not because they see flaws, but because they see power. And tearing you down is their way of feeling in control. That's why the most unexpected consequence you can deliver, the one they never saw coming, is stepping back into your confidence like you never left it. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to return to yourself, the version of you before the world tried to make you feel small. The version of you that laughed freely, walked with purpose, and didn't need permission to feel enough. That version is still in you, waiting for you to choose her again. Start with the way you speak to yourself. The inner dialogue matters, because when someone has hurt you, their voice sometimes becomes your own. You hear their criticism, their doubt, their lies echoing in your head. You have to rewrite that script, not with delusion, but with truth. Remind yourself of who you are without their damage. Remind yourself of what you've survived. You're not broken, you're becoming, and that confidence doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be unshakable. There's something magnetic about a person who knows their worth. Someone who walks into a room not needing to be the center of attention, but radiates something real anyway. That's what happens when you reclaim your confidence. You stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for closure. You stop asking people who hurt you to define your value, and once you do that, something shifts. The same people who thought they had control over you suddenly don't know how to reach you anymore. Because confidence changes your frequency. It moves you to a higher level where their games don't even register. And that's where the regret begins. Because the person who once had access to your insecurities now has no access at all. Not to your mind, not to your emotions, not to your time. You don't need revenge when you're radiating so much self-worth that their opinions become background noise. When you glow from the inside, when your confidence is rooted in truth, there is no wound they can exploit anymore. The truth is, you never needed them to see your worth. You just needed to see it for yourself, because once you do, everything changes. Not just how they see you, but how you move through the world. And that version of you, grounded and unapologetic, is the one they never thought you'd become. There comes a moment after the pain, after the silence, after the rising, when you stop looking back. Not because you've forgotten what they did, but because you finally remember who you are. That moment is freedom. That moment is everything. It's when you stop needing closure, stop needing the apology that never came, stop needing them to understand. You realize they don't get to write your story. They were just a chapter, not the whole book. So many people stay stuck because they're waiting for justice, for karma, for some grand moment when the universe serves the pain back to the ones who delivered it. But real justice doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it looks like peace. Peace that comes from knowing you survived what was meant to destroy you. Peace that isn't dependent on whether or not they regret what they did, because your healing no longer hinges on their remorse. The final step in turning their hurt into your power is simple, but not easy. It's the decision to let go, not just of them, but of the grip their memory has on your emotions. Letting go isn't saying what happened was okay. It's saying you're done holding it. It's releasing the weight of proving anything to anyone. And it's realizing that walking away with your head held high is more powerful than anything you could ever say or do to them. Because the truth is, you already won. You didn't become bitter. You didn't stay broken. You didn't let their damage define you. And in a world where people let pain harden them, you chose to rise with grace. That's rare. That's powerful. That's strength they'll never understand because they tried to take it from you, and they failed. Letting go also means opening space for what's ahead. Because while you're still tangled in what happened, you can't fully step into what's possible. New opportunities, new love, new joy. They can't thrive in soil contaminated by old wounds. You've cleared the path, you've done the work, and now it's time to stop circling the same hurt and start walking towards something better. You don't need to track their regrets. You don't need to monitor their life from a distance, wondering if they ever think about what they did. That's not your business anymore. What matters is your life now, your peace now, your growth now. They hurt you on purpose, but they never expected you to rise with this kind of power, with this kind of softness, with this kind of fire in your eyes and calm in your spirit. So you walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're finally too strong to stay where you're not respected, not loved, not valued. You walk away because their version of you was never the full story, and now you're ready to write the rest of it, on your terms, in your power, without looking back. They hurt you on purpose, but you healed on purpose too, and that is the part they never saw coming.